everyone, my name is Junon. I have a health science background, and I'm the author of the book Truth and Empathy: How to Find Your Soulmate. And I'll put a link to the book below. This video is about how the 16 MBTI personality types manage their money. In other words, how good are they with their finances? When it comes to this topic, it's easier to take those 16 personality types and divide into two groups. One would be the judgers and the other ones would be the perceivers. As a general rule of thumb is that judgers are better at managing their finances compared to the perceivers. Now, when you look at those types, for example, if you look at the center judgers, most likely they are the types to want safety, security. So these are people who probably gonna have life insurance, even disability insurance. They're going to invest in safer vehicles, so they will not want to put their money in stocks that can go up and down easily, and then they don't want high risk when it comes to investments. And also they're the type to want to buy items, or even in terms of like they want a good car, they want a good house, solidly built, so that because they're all about passing their belongings or their wealth to the future generation. So they're very much conscious about making sure that their needs and the needs of their family and the people they care about are taken care of. By contrast, when you look at center perceivers, because they're all perceivers as a group, is that they are the types actually to make more money than any other group because they are the entrepreneurs and the entertainers. So obviously, if you can serve more people, you're more likely to be handsomely rewarded. So you'll see, for instance, a singer could do a number of concerts and earn millions of dollars, which, let's say, is different from, let's say, if someone works as a banker and they can only serve a number of customers per day. So in other words, what center perceivers have discovered is that it has to do with being able to make a product, able to multiply and service a lot of people at once. But the downside with a center perceiver is that they are the type to take risks. So they're more likely to, let's say, have to file for bankruptcy because let's say the economy was not going well. Maybe there's a recession, and next thing you know, they might lose their business. So they're more likely to have ups and downs when it comes to their income. And also, when it comes to center perceivers, that they're also more likely to be very generous. So they're the type of people who might want to treat others with like a trip or expensive clothes or things of the sort, and that can obviously has an impact on their finances. The other aspect when it comes to center perceivers is that they're more likely to spend money on pleasurable items, such as, let's say, trips, and even in terms of some might like alcohol or cigarettes or anything that has to do with let's say the senses and living up in the moment. So they're more likely to spend money that are not going to maybe is not really an investment. It has to do with just enjoying the present moment, which is different from a center judger, which always thinks about being conservative, and if they spend money, okay, is this going to help build wealth long term, and is it secure? So that's one of the things that you will notice with these two groups. And again, when it comes to these sort of personality traits, we have to maybe focus on just the 20-80 rule. Doesn't mean that every center perceiver tends to spend a lot of money and want to open a business. Not necessarily. And is every center judger that meticulous? Not necessarily. Again, it has to do with, if let's say I would line up 100 center perceivers and 100 center judgers, who is more likely to have this type of behavior? So again, this is something that I think it's important to stress. Now, when it comes to the intuitive thinkers, they tend to be highly educated. So these are the Nobel Prize winners. These are people who are very much about research and about abstract thought. So they are not necessarily very much interested in building wealth or wanting to open a business or being that conservative in a sense of judges. So obviously they can be divided also between judgers and perceivers. You will still see that tendency of the judger and intuitive thinker to be more conservative and be more meticulous when it comes to their finances, but they're more likely to maybe invest in a research project and say, well, let me get some funding to do that, instead of saying, well, I'm going to take this money and open up a business, or just invest it in a safe vehicle so that I can get some returns down the road. So these are people who are more, again, interested in exploring abstract idea and pushing, let's say, when it comes to science and math to the next level. When it comes to the intuitive feelers, again, they can be divided into two groups. So you have the judger type and you have the perceiver type. The judger type, again, is more likely to be meticulous with their spending, wanting to be safe and secure, but they tend to not be very interested in building a lot of wealth. So as long as they have enough for themselves and their families, they tend to be fine. When it comes to the intuitive feelers, they usually are not interested in opening up a business or being a CEO of a corporation. They're more likely to be focused on the theme of that, which is spirituality and meaning. So these are people who might want to become a teacher or become a spiritual advisor, things of the sort. So as long as they have enough for their families, they're usually good. When it comes to the personality types that tend to have the most difficulty with their finances, I would say that based on my observations, you'll see the sensor perceivers. So especially it's the extroverted types, because they like to live it up in the moment. So it's someone like an ESTP, most likely to invest in a company, goes belly up. And so these are the people who are very much risk takers. And also when it comes to the intuitive feelers, the ENFP also tends to have issues with money, because they don't like to do meticulous tracking of their expenses. They're the type of people who just go from the heart. So I find that these two personality types are the ones that are most likely will have issues with money management. To summarize, when it comes to finances in the 16 personality type, maybe it's good to focus on whether someone is a judger versus a perceiver. So judges tend to be more meticulous, tend to be more focused on being safe with their money, even in terms of investment, so forth, regardless of their personality type, whether they are, let's say, an intuitive or a sensor. And also I find that extroverts tend to be more lenient when it comes to their money, or maybe even more outrageous at times, compared to introverts who maybe will not spend as much money in terms of items or even activities that after all involve groups of people, and you're more likely to spend more money. So I trust that this information was interesting. Maybe you learned something. If you did, please click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, and we will talk soon.